Hello, good morning. Once again, welcome to our channel. I hope you're doing fine. I hope you're going to like today's video. And in case you're watching for the first time, take a second or two, subscribe to our channel so that we can grow together. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about Moses Kuria's statement that happened or came on Sunday night in an interview with Jeff Koinange of Citizen TV. And it was an interview where they were discussing matters politics 2027. And Jeff Koinange, one of the questions that really has caused speculation is when he asked Moses Kuria what he thinks about the 2027 general election and how is it going to be, or what's the expected outlook. And surprisingly, according to Moses Kuria, the 2027 general election, there will be no election in 2027. And he gave an relevant example to what happened in the 2002 election, where Kibaki had already been predetermined and it was just rubber stamped for him to lead. That was after Moi was sent home. Now, he said that in 2027, it's don't expect to see what you've been seeing in 2022, 2017, 2013, but rather there will be a totally different scenario. And according to the look of things, according to Moses Kuria, people or men will sit on the table. All these leaders will come to consensus and sit on the table, and there will be an high consensus among them. There will be a high level of consensus, and people will come to discussions and weigh two sides, because according to Moses Kuria, is that 2027 election will be characterized by two sides.
There will not be that kind of
what are you trying to say?
Content. There's not going to be an election in 2027 for presidential.
Say that again.
Yes, there's not going to be a contest. Let me ask you, 2002, yeah. Was there an election?
There was.
So it's a rubber stamp. Yes. Kibaki had been pre-agreed. Have you ever seen that margin again?
No.
Ilikuwa ngapi?
71
to 20 something. Yeah. Is that an election? That is almost like we're almost rivaling Museveni with his 98%. So because it was a movement. Yeah. So 2027 will be another movement like 2002. There's not going to be an election in the sense that you are thinking. There's going to be so much consensus in the country. Wazee wataketi chini. They say we have two options. Go Rwanda way, destroy the nation Rwanda way, or let's agree. Let there be honor among, I don't want to say this, but among men and women. Let there be honor among men and women. Because the opportunity rose. The alternative will be too dire to fathom. So people will say now, before we go this direction, let people, there's going to be so much consensus around 2027. And the kind of election people are imagining is going to be there. It's not going to be like 2022. It's not going to be like 2017. It's not going to be like 2013. There will be so much consensus for the need of people to say there will be two factors driving that consensus. One is that danger, that really if we cross the precipice there, if you cross the precipice there and the way without a consensus, things might be so bad. Yeah? I think Rigathi said it the wrong way, but I think he said it for the wrong reason, because of election seeding and all that. No, there's going the opportunity, the possibility of us jumping over the cliff if we don't manage 2027 right is more dangerous than 2007 and all these other things. And that will be the impetus, that will be the incentive that is going to make people sit around the table and say, to save this country, we are going to do where utapata hii, where utapata hii, where utapata hii ingine. Unfortunately, that is not the game some people are practicing for. Some people are practicing for football, and it is going to be a tennis match.
That man there in the corner.
Yes.
Could he be part of the consensus?
According to Moses Kuria, is that 2027 election will be characterized by two sides. Whether to split the country and have issues like it was even referring to some countries that have got into protest chaos, or to put the interests of the country first, and rather call these leaders, all these leaders, the likes of Rigathi, Matiang'i, Kalonzo, all these leaders will come to the table and a consensus will be drawn. Business people will be brought to the table and a consensus will be drawn that you take this, you take this, you take this for the purpose of the country. And that's according to Moses Kuria statement. And also another thing that Moses Kuria raised in that interview is that by 2027, he is going to run for presidency, or is likely to run for presidency when he gets to 2027, considering of how things will be at that time. Remember that Moses Kuria has already hinted at joining Jubilee Party, but he even went ahead to say that if Jubilee Party doesn't accept him to the party, then he has his own party, and he is even going to join or to use his party to run for presidency, probably come by 2027. But when he was asked about supporting President Ruto, he said that that's too early to talk about right now. When it comes to 2027, by then he will have made a decision whether he will support. It's very far to determine whether he will be supporting President Ruto or he won't be supporting Ruto, because 2027 is a bit too far. But the message that came out is that about no election in 2027, and there will be a consensus that business people will sit, the billionaires will sit, politicians will sit and discuss two factions before we get even to an election. And this is what is going to characterize leaders coming together and forming a very huge collaboration to ensure that the country remains safe. I don't know what you can say about Moses Kuria's statement about 2027 general election. Do you think is it real as Moses Kuria is saying it, or it's probably will be quite totally different? But also on the other side, Moses Kuria had on Rigathi Gachagua, saying that he had 3 issues about Rigathi Gachagua. And one of the issues is that Moses Kuria, the issue that is blaming Rigathi Gachagua is that during when he was being axed from government, after I think that was after the June protest, he says that Rigathi Gachagua was seated there. Maybe Rigathi should have defended him. That's maybe was the expectation. But he said that Rigathi was seated there and maybe was left. Another issue is that he's saying that Rigathi Gachagua has lowered the bar so low. And the politics that he's running, maybe over attacking people with the voice notes, like things like that, and the language Rigathi is using, which is of course political riddles, and we have seen it before. Raila Odinga has been referred to sometimes. We have had languages of Kitendawili, Muganga, and it's been in politics. But according to Moses Kuria, what Rigathi Gachagua is doing is lowering the bar too low. And also that's a statement that we'll be waiting to see what Rigathi Gachagua will be coming out to respond or answer or give a bit feedback about the same. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what happened or was characterized by yesterday's interview at JKL, at Jeff Koinange live. And also, I'll be waiting to see if this Moses Kuria statement will characterize. But for as I see things, it's very difficult. Rigathi Gachagua is really determined to ensure the President Ruto becomes one term, and I don't see any chances of collaboration between this side and the other side. Because according to Rigathi Gachagua and the way they view things, they are half numbers to win presidency. I don't think there is a time that the country will come together and sit. But if that time comes, we will be waiting to see, according to Moses Kuria. But also, one statement that, one thing that we can note from Moses Kuria's statement, that the interest of the country will at all times be put first, especially with the steps that Kenya has made. And also, he was asked about the protest that is happening, and especially now the 25th protest that is expected to happen. And Moses Kuria was very positive about it. He said that people should be allowed to protest peacefully, and police should provide the necessary security. And he really was against the hiring of goons. And he really pinned down the hiring of goons to come out and in the protest from happening, and prevent or cause chaos when peaceful protests are happening. But ladies and gentlemen, you can tell me what you think. But as for me, I've always maintained that the opposition will remain the opposition and the government will remain government, and that's what we expect by 2027, that we are going to have either 2 sides, if not the 3, which can lead to a runoff, we're going to have two sides. That's the opposition and the Ruto side running for the 2027 president. And in case that is the scenario, if we have two sides, then the opposition will automatically win that election. I've done all possible number of calculation. I've done all possible shared all opinion polls, and it always comes out that the opposition has an edge higher. Maybe if the card of split will be deployed by 2027, where we'll be having now 3 sides or even 4, because when you have the likes of Moses Kuria saying that they will run for presidency, if he runs for presidency, then it means he'll be getting some votes from Mount Kenya region, because he can't go 0. And remember that even if he gets the little he'll get, then that's a vote that could have benefited the opposition. We'll be seeing how things will turn out, and what chances or what stakes we have for the 2027 general election. Otherwise, stay safe and have a nice day ahead.